This video is brought to you by Sailrite. In this video, we're going to be showing you how to create a U-zipper, or sometimes referred to as a smile or frown zipper opening in a vinyl window curtain panel. This zippered opening will allow you to roll up your vinyl window material and then strap it so that you can allow the air to enter into your enclosure. This video will show you all the steps required to install a U-shaped zipper in your vinyl window curtain. The secret of a U-shaped zipper is when to baste and then sew each binding and zipper application. This video will reveal that. This video is a small excerpt taken from the Enclosure DVD. The Enclosure DVD will soon be available from Sailrite at the end of 2012. A detailed material list will be found at the end of this video. With the window panel installed on your boat, go to your boat and take some measurements to indicate where you want the zipper opening to be installed. It's a good idea to use a yardstick and be sure that the zipper opening is horizontal with the rest of the boat from afar. The location of your zipper opening is totally dependent upon what you think looks best and what will work for your application. We've positioned a ruler at the bottom indicating where we want the zipper to come across at the bottom and also on the side, and we're measuring from the corner 4 inches out. Taking measurements like this will ensure that we have a curve that's easy to sew and consistent. Now measure up from that corner 8 inches and place a mark, and then draw a line up, and then measure out 8 inches along the horizontal area and place a mark and draw a line out. The line that we drew out should be about 12 inches in length. It'll be extended later on. We want our zipper opening to be centered between this panel. That's for our particular application. Yours may be different. So we're measuring the sides to ensure that the opening is centered. Then we're placing those 2 rulers at the corner again at that same location on the opposite side. To create the curve at this side, we'll measure from the corner 4 inches up and 8 inches on each side, and we'll mark the glass. We're using a Sharpie marker here to mark the vinyl window material. These marks will be hidden in a later step. We've determined that we want our zipper to extend approximately 4 inches from the upper zipper, so we're marking it 4 inches, and we'll extend that line to that 4-inch mark. We'll measure that side, and then we'll place that same length line on the opposite side of the window. So the top edge of our window opening will be horizontal with the bottom opening. When creating the curve for your zipper, it's a good idea not to make a really sharp curve. It's more difficult to get the zipper to lay flat, so we recommend doing a similar curve as you've seen in this video. On the outside of our window material, we'll be basting a 3/4 inch bias binding. On the back side of this binding, apply a 3/8 inch basting tape for canvas. Peel off the transfer paper, revealing the glue, and then we'll start to baste the binding on the outside portion of the line, right next to that line, but not directly on top of it.
Just a hair away from it. Apply it down. Okay. You come all the way down to your mark. Okay, that's your straightaway right there. And you see this is going to be your center of your curve. You want to pull on the outer edge of your binding because that will help lengthen this to shorten your inner curve a little. And then just apply it slowly till you get to your mark. And you can push it down. Same way coming up to this one. And then you go straight across the bottom.
Follow that procedure around the second curve as well, all the way to the top. We skipped that portion.
Okay, get to the top of your line, just cut that off.
Now we'll do that same procedure on the inside of the line.
Okay, now we're going to go on the inside, starting at the top. And you want to make kind of a thumbnail width in between because we're going to be slicing that open with our scissors, and that way you've got plenty of room to cut without cutting the inner edges of your binding. And you just follow the first piece around. And again, you want to kind of tug on the inner edge. Back at the top again with the second layer.
Now that those two bindings are installed, Deb will explain a little bit about sewing.
We need to go in and stitch this inner edge right here, because once the zipper's underneath there, you won't be able to sew that inner edge because of the teeth on the zipper. So you want to make sure that you do both edges, inner edges, but don't sew the outside yet.
We'll take it over to the Sailrite Ultrafeed LS1 sewing machine, and we're using the Helios thread, which is a lifetime guaranteed thread. A polyester V92 thread will work as well. It's UV resistant, but it is not UV proof. When Deb gets to the corner here, she's going to take her time and go slowly, and you'll notice also she scrolls up the material to fit it underneath the arm of the sewing machine. The slower you go, the more control you have, so take your time when sewing corners. You'll notice the basting tape holds the binding down well, but not super well, so you may have to reapply the binding to the corners, as the corners have a tendency to want to come up. All right, that's curve number 1. Now we're coming to curve number 2. For the sake of speed, we're going to skip that portion. It's the same. And here we are coming to the end. There's no need to reverse because we will have a 2-inch facing covering this location as a zipper stop. Now repeat that procedure for the outer binding. Only sew the inner edge. Do not sew the outer edges of either of these two bindings. Not only does Deb have to scroll the material to get underneath the throat of the sewing machine, but she also has to watch out for the tripod of the camera, so we're making her job double difficult.
It's a challenge, an adventure.
We wanted to show you perspective from a little bit further back. Notice how this material is scrolled up underneath the throat of the arm, and how Deb carefully scrolls it as she gets to certain sections. That makes the sewing a lot easier. Here we are at the end, and there's no need to reverse here either, because we are going to have a tab covering this in a later step. It's now time to baste and sew the zipper in place.
Over, inside.
Here's what the inside surface looks like before the zipper is applied. In an effort to keep the double-sided tape away from the teeth, we're using the 1/4-inch basting tape for canvas. Typically, curved zippers are done with a YKK number 10 coil zipper. A coil zipper takes a curve a little bit nicer than a Vislon zipper would. Now that the double-sided tape has been applied to both sides of the zipper as close to the edge as possible, we're ready to peel back the transfer paper, revealing the glue, and basting it onto our window panel.
And both of your edges are going to line right up with the edge of the binding.
The number 10 zipper should line up with the edges of the binding on the other side perfectly.
And again, you want to pull on the outer edge of the zipper, not the inner edge. Not necessarily pull it, but just hold it good and taut. And then as you're going around the curve, get it stuck down here. You can go back and pull your zip up and push in on your teeth. And just try to take little tiny pleats as you go, rather than one or two great big ones. Just try to work it out the best you can. And you push and find the one point and then come back and work in what you have. Usually works out quite well. Just a little bit at a time. If you end up having one great big one, just lift it up and work it back in. Get it to lay straight without a bubble to the outside. And just kind of work with it so you get it good and worked in. You just have to take a little bit of time, and you can always come back and work more of it out if you want to later, just lifting it up off the seam stick basting tape. Just like this here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Push my zipper. Just kind of work these into small pleats. Kind of go in the middle of the gap and press that down. And you can kind of work back and forth. And just do a little bit at a time. Just like that. And when you sew it, sometimes it'll even make it flatten out more when you're stitching around it.
We're going to skip ahead to the end of the zipper.
You see the tape ends here. I'm going to cut that off in the same spot. Okay.
We'll now take it
No
to
big
the
deal.
Ultrafeed LS1 sewing machine. This is a straight stitch only sewing machine, and we're going to sew around the outer perimeter.
As you can see, it starts popping up again, so you want to just lift it right up. And again, push on your zipper teeth to get it flattened out. Otherwise, it'll be bubbled right up. And just work as many small pleats into it as you can. That way your zipper runs a lot smoother going around the curve when you're unzipping and zipping it.
Always take your time when you're sewing the zipper, especially the inner curve of the zipper, because you can work those wrinkles out if you take your time. The double-sided tape holds well, but as you can see, since the zipper is wanting to curve a lot and shrink up, the double-sided tape can't hold it perfectly. So, sew a few inches and then flatten out any wrinkles. And as you sew over even some of those wrinkles, you'll notice the sewing machine has a tendency to flatten them as it goes. So, Deb's pretty much leaving more wrinkles in here than I'd probably desire. I think she's just trying to get the job done now. I recommend that you work most of those out before you get to them with a sewing machine. All right, didn't come out too bad after all. Now she's at the straightaway and she's coming up to the second curve. We're not going to show all of that. We're going to skip ahead into the end. But again, work out the wrinkles when you get to the second curve. And here we are at the end. No need to reverse because we're going to have a tab there. We'll now sew the outer flange of the zipper.
Okay, now the outer edge, you do the same thing. If it pops up at all, just push out on the zipper teeth and lay it, flatten it back down.
Sewing the outer flange of the zipper is not nearly as difficult. You'll find that there are very few wrinkles and typically it sticks down on its own. But do take your time when you get to the curve. Go nice and slow, that way your stitch is closest to the zipper edge and also catches the binding on the bottom side as well. If you sew too close to the teeth, then you won't catch the edge of the binding on the bottom side, so be sure you do that. And here we come to the end. No need to reverse.
Okay, now we have our zippers sewed down, plus we have our outer edge of our 3/4 binding.
The hard work is all done. Now we're going to slit the vinyl material.
I thought you were coming back.
Simply separate the teeth with your finger, as Deb is showing
Start
here.
a hole with a sharp object or an awl. Put your scissors into that hole, and then just slide it along the glass.
Be careful not to cut the binding on the outside surface or the threads that are used to hold the binding in place. Take your time.
Open that up. That's all right. Okay, now we have it open.
We're going to be using single pull sliders, though you can use a double pull slider if you want to be able to open it from the inside or the outside.
Start one side. Start the other side. And pull the side you started just a little bit and push.
We're also going to install a second slider on the opposite side so
Good.
the two sliders meet in the center.
Open it. Roll it.
We're going to use a 2-inch sunbrella facing. You could use just scraps umbrella as well, and we're going to cut it to approximately 3 inches in length.
Like those.
We'll be using the Sailrite edge hot knife to seal the edges of the sunbrella fabric. Next, we'll apply the 3/8 basting tape for canvas to the back side of the 2-inch facing. We'll peel off the transfer tape, revealing the glue, and then baste it directly on top of the zipper ends.
Down.
This creates a beautiful stop and also a finished look. We'll do that to this side, the inside, and we'll also do it to the outside surface. Directly on top of each other.
I'll stitch down the outer edges through both of them at the same time. Okay. Back stitches at the end. Straight down to the zipper. Back stitches here.
We're going to sew down the two long edges. We're not going to sew across the zipper. And be sure to reverse the beginning and the end of your stitches to lock the stitch in place. Do the same procedure to the opposite end. Next, we're going to create a roll-up strap. We're going to use webbing, however many people use the window material as the strap so that it's invisible. It's your choice. If you choose to use window vinyl material as a strap, you do not need to use a hot knife, though the procedure is exactly the same, even the hem that we'll create in both ends. Deb's found the center of the window because we're only going to use one strap in our window. For bigger windows, you may want to use two.
One on here. That way it holds the binding together at the fold.
Deb's using basting tape to hold the fold in place.
So, about 1 inch. Alright. And, see our dot there. So we're just gonna slide that up.
We're not going to use basting tape to hold the webbing to the window because it will be visible on the other side. We're not going to do a lot of reversing because a lot of holes in vinyl window material in a small area can weaken it.
Okay, and then I'm going to jump down to the bottom of my fold here. Go across it again. Fly in my ear.
Now all we need to do is install a snap. We're going to use the press and snap tool.
Now, I'm going to go inside the glass and we're going to kind of roll the glass as we go. And putting the stud to the outside of the glass. Get it centered. Release. Scroll. Okay, now we're going to unzip the glass. And we're going to roll it to the outside. Like so. We'll take our strap around. And I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Okay. Now you're looking at the outside of the glass. Get rolled up. Okay. Roll it up tight and out of the way as much as possible. Turn it here. And just bring the webbing down here.
Deb's measuring the length of webbing that she needs, and she's going to create about a 1-inch fold on the end where she will install the button in the socket.
Oh, well.
She's using the soapstone pencil to mark the webbing.
I'll line up with that snap.
We'll be using the Sailrite edge hot knife again to cut the webbing to size. Then we're going to use that press and snap tool to install the button and the socket.
Socket. Our button on the top.
There are a multiple of other tools that can be used to set snaps. Be sure to check out the Sailrite website for your options.
Alright. This, and snap. Windows up.
Here's what that side curtain panel looks like on our boat now that our curved zipper and a vinyl window application is complete. Simply unzip the sliders and then roll up the material to the outside of the boat. Then we'll use that webbing strap to secure the rolled up portion of the window. Hopefully, by the time you're done with this project, you too will be smiling. As promised, here's the materials list. You may want to pause the video to study these two lists. The average cost for a used zipper like this is approximately $30 or less for the materials. Be sure to check out Sailrite's other videos at the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. This has been a small excerpt from the Enclosure DVD that's coming soon to Sailrite in 2012. I'm Eric Grant with Sailrite. Thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye. It's your loyal patronage to Sailrite that makes these free videos possible. Thanks for your support.